and you see what it stands for: hate, prejudice, despair, fear, absolutely no humanity, and it is just pure evil. So what about genocide? What did we think when Hitler was done with the Jews, that it was going to be the end of that? Well, look at what's going on in Bosnia, Darfur, Rwanda, Sudan, and now it's the Christians in Egypt and in other Middle East countries. So the reason I'm doing this is because you are going to actually hug me or give me a handshake, because I am probably the very youngest of Holocaust. I don't even like the word survivor, but someone who lived it, lived through it, and somehow survived. Interview of Frieda Jaffe. Hatred is a very powerful word. Imagine being hated simply because of your religion. What was life like for someone who was hated so much, and that because of this hatred, most of her entire family was murdered? What becomes of a little girl who survives a ghetto in Poland and death camps in Germany? And how would her survival shape her growing up, her development into adulthood? Nothing about life in a ghetto or a Nazi concentration camp was normal, but it was all she knew. She did not know that children had beds to sleep in, warm meals to eat, parents to nurture and love their children. By age 5, Frieda was thrown into a world of hatred, fear, starvation, and total aloneness. Her immediate family were all either killed or deported from the ghetto, and somehow she learned to rely on resources she probably never knew existed. She learned to blend into her surroundings and somehow become invisible. Remember the cloak. Searching and finding something to eat became the only thing that mattered. She was still only 7 years old when one day British soldiers accidentally discovered a horror-filled death camp called Bergen-Belsen in Germany. But when Frieda saw these soldiers, she quickly found a place to hide again from someone in a uniform. And after so much death and suffering, would Frieda have the good fortune of being reunited with anyone still living from her family? Does she still believe in anything? Can she ever trust anyone? When I had my first child, my first son, all 9.5 pounds of him, I brought him home from the hospital, and I looked at my husband, and I'm standing in the doorway with this baby, this person, and I never cry, and I just started to bubble and cry. I said, what do I do with him? How do I know how to be a mother? Now you're smiling and you think that that's kind of a silly question, but when you've never had anybody to show you, it's hard. And the very first time and he spoke very early, but he was very young, and I heard him say, Mama, and I thought, who is he talking to? Because, guys, the last time that I ever remember using the word mama was when I saw my mother with my baby brother on her arm being herded into a cattle car. This is a picture of my father, my mother, my baby brother, Shimek, who was 18 months old when he was stuffed into a furnace. And the only time that I ever remember, the last time, was when I saw my mother being herded with my baby brother, and I was screaming after her, Mama, because I thought I should be with her. I didn't know where she was going. That was the last time that I ever remember using that word. My father, I don't even remember my father. I don't even remember enough about my father to create any kind of a story. And the only thing that I really remember personally, and all of a sudden the door was just burst open and there were troops, soldiers, uniforms. I don't know whether they were Polish or German or whatever. And I don't remember the dialogue, but I remember something later on hearing that they were arresting my father. He happened to be sick. He was in bed. He couldn't even get out, so they hauled him away. And I don't remember, I don't personally really know how many days but it was several days later, everybody in this town had to go out onto like a market square in the center of town. And next thing I know, I see, again, soldiers, people, policemen, whoever they were, dragging my father on these cobblestones, and right up to the gallows, because it was a hanging gallows, and hanging him. And I remember my mother putting her hand in front of my eyes, and one of these uniformed people, whoever he was, knocked her hand away and said, "She has to watch. She has to learn." And I learned. I learned a lot. A lot of companies, a lot of helpers empowering the Nazi regime. It did not occur just with Hitler. Again, there were wonderful people, individuals who sheltered, who helped, who hid Jewish children, just not enough of them.